One word makes a project. But what did those 6 files actually do? One command, uv init, and a project name, and a project exists. 6 things appeared, none of which you typed. Most tutorials skip straight past this and start installing packages. We're going to read every single file instead because a project you can't read is a project you can't fix. Welcome back. This chapter builds a real project and reads every line of it, so nothing in your own folder is ever a mystery again. Start with the file everything else hangs off. Pyproject.toml is the standard way a Python project describes itself, which is why every modern tool reads it and none of them need convincing. Not a UV invention, in other words, a Python standard that UV happens to follow properly. For sections, and we'll take them one at a time. Name and version identify the project. Description and README are for humans. Authors is written from your local Git configuration, so check what landed there before you publish anything. That line goes out into the world with your package. Requires Python is a promise, not a preference. It says which interpreters your code claims to work on, and UV refuses to add any package that can't satisfy it. So this one line quietly shapes every dependency decision that follows. Dependency starts as an empty list, and next chapter fills it. Then build system, which tells anyone packaging your code which machinery to use. Notice the constraint written there is less than 0.13.0, even though the documentation page shows it without the trailing 0. Trust the file. Now, a warning about every older tutorial you're going to find. The documentation says it plainly. Prior to version 0.12, UV did not define a build system for applications by default, which means a tutorial recorded last year shows a different set of files from the ones you just got. Nothing is broken, the tool moved. There are 4 shapes UV can make, and the flag you pass decides which. App is the default, meaning something you run. Lib is something other people import, so UV puts your code under a src folder to keep the import path honest. Packaged gives you a command name. And bare writes almost nothing, because sometimes you'd rather decide everything yourself. And the rest of the files quickly because none of them hide anything. .python-version is the pin from last chapter, written from whatever interpreter UV chose. Main.py is a one-line starter file, so the project runs the moment it exists. README is empty and yours to fill in. And gitignore already excludes venv, which means you cannot accidentally commit an entire environment to your repository. 2 more files turn up later without being asked for. The venv is the project's own shelf, and uvlock is the exact list of what's on it. Neither is something you create. Both appear the first time you add a dependency or run anything. One command deserves special attention, and you'll type it constantly. uvrun does the whole ritual from chapter 0 on your behalf. Check the environment exists, make it if not, make sure the packages match, then run your code inside it. For steps, invisible, every time. If you asked for a packaged project, one more section appears. Project scripts maps a command name to a function in your code, and after that uvrun followed by that name runs your function directly, which is how a Python project turns into something with an actual command. It's worth knowing that uv init will happily take over a folder you already have. Point it at a directory with code in it, and UV writes only what's missing, which means adopting an existing project is one command rather than an afternoon of copying files around. One more thing worth doing on day 1. UV init made a Git repository for you, and now is the moment to decide what belongs in it. The project file, the pin, and the lockfile all go in. The environment folder does not, because UV already excluded it on your behalf. And if you'd rather not have a Git repository at all, --no -vcs skips it. Small thing, but worth knowing before UV creates a repository inside a repository and your version control starts behaving strangely. Quick check. You just ran UV init, and there's no venv folder anywhere. Did something go wrong? Pause the video here and decide for yourself before I answer. Ready? No, the environment appears the first time UV actually needs one. So, to recap, pyproject.toml describes your project and every modern tool reads it. Requires Python is a promise that constrains every package you'll ever add. And the environment and the lock file arrive by themselves the first time UV needs them. Next chapter we finally add a dependency, and I show you why UV add does not do the thing almost everybody assumes it does.